Wait, is it? Oh, is this thing on? Oh, turn on the torch, light up the flame. Time to melt some glass, my friend. There you are. Here I am to explain, to teach, and create again. Wait a minute. Wait, no torch. I'm gonna go retro today. The reason I'm going retro is that in 1982, in November, is when I started doing glass blowing. It's probably about the middle or the beginning of November. I can't remember. It's been a while, quite a while. But this is what I'm thankful for. Yesterday was Thanksgiving, and having a chance to sit down in front of a torch and melt some glass is what I am really, really thankful for. It has been a blessing in my life. It led me to my wife. It led me to delve deep inside myself and work out a few hard details about what is important and what isn't important. It also helped me to just realize to become a master of something that most people think of it in one particular form and no other. Right now, I am going to make an elephant. A very tiny elephant, but an elephant. This blowtorch is nothing like the first one that I got, but it will do the job. The one I got had more of a wider tip. Maybe I gotta even go smaller than this to make it, to give me what I want to look for. And yep, that's gonna be the main deal. Yep, making it smaller. Main reason, it's about the size of the torch tip. Being in control of what you got. It's going to take a little while, but it'll get there. First elephants I ever did. This'll do it. There we go. If gravity won't work for you, work with it. Yeah, this torch is very, very, I would have to say cold compared to what I'm used to with the oxygen propane Carlisle that I got. It's been a while. Let me move this back just a little bit. More in the center of the flame here, or center of the picture. Okay. There's the main body to this elephant. Here comes the head. Think about the head, it's already about the, no, it's not the right size, but you can make it so. There's the trunk. Here comes the ears. Tweezers. There they are. Tweezers. In this flame, you don't have much time in and out of the flame. There you go. It's starting to look a little like an elephant. I don't know if you can see it or not. Ears, nose. You can point the ears a little bit. Yes, I'm using Mountain Dew bottle if anybody was wondering. That's the only soft glass that I had available, and it is my soft glass of choice for being free. It has a nice qualities. It has nice qualities about it, I have to admit. It's kind of, and even the newer glass Mountain Dew bottles, and even the older glass Mountain Dew bottles, they're made practically the same way with the same material, so it's okay to use. Okay, here we go. We're rounding in the bottom of this thing, and we're going to put 4 legs on it. That's the fun part. One. Now, part of the main body is a little bit longer and a little bit, or a little bit elongated. So I'm only putting the ends of these feet on here, and I will show it to you later, of course. Making sure it's got enough on each one. Now, when you've got 4 legs and you want to make it even, you heat and press, starting on the back and work your way forward or whatever. Okay. Now let's see if this sucker will. Oh, it did. Needs a fire polish going on. There we go. And we got. Oh, come on, stand up for me, will you? Give it another little bit of time and. Oh, a little bit of front heavy. Now's the time to know that. All right, graceful. At this size, they're virtually indestructible. I didn't say indestructible, but virtually. This size, I've had them drop on concrete floor from about 2 to 3 feet high and just bounce. Even these. Now what I'm doing is redistributing a little bit of the legs because it was a little front heavy, making the front legs a little bit longer to make the center of gravity in a different location. There we go. You'll learn about that. There it goes. Stands up quite nicely now. You're going to learn about the center of gravity and just about everything, and it becomes second nature in some respects. I'm going to do a seahorse. Actually, no. A little dragon, little tiny propane Mountain Dew dragon. Why not? Got all the stuff right here, and it should work out quite nicely. There's the neck and head coming up here. Just learning to melt the glass in the right spot at the right time. We're going to do the little, I want to call them eyebrows or horns. My first dragons to the ones that I do now. The ones I do now are so much better. But couldn't have gotten there without making the ugly ones first. and enjoying making the ugly ones first. When I first started, I picked up, again, a propane blowtorch and soda bottles, just like I'm using right now. And started pulling, twisting, and stretching. And my scientific mind, my artistic mind, my creative mind, many facets of my life came together with glass. There was a little kid inside going, ooh, pretty. And also my mind also saying there's a scientific reason for this is doing this and why it's going like that. See there? Just a little bit of flame, a lot of control. I'm propping my elbows as I do these little tiny things. I'm going to make that tail longer because I can. There we go. 2 toes in the front. A little bit long, but they'll do the job. Two claws. Yes, you can have control even in this state. Now I'm going to bend it just a little bit different, just a little bit. There we go. I'm going to leave that guy just as he is. I was thinking about putting wings on it, but no. Sometimes simplicity. Nose is a little long. Let's shorten it up a little bit. There we go. And you got one dragon. Let's see, what's nice, long, and thin? Let's do a little lizard. And then I'm going to call it quits for this demonstration. And, you know, I'm live and I haven't been going into the chat room to see if anybody's there. And I'm sorry about that, folks. Let's go there. Open in new tab, I believe. And see if anybody's saying hi in the chat room. And I'm sorry that I didn't go in there to begin with. Guess not, but that's okay. But now, let's go ahead and make a lizard. Tiny one. Because I can. Okay. I'm going to flatten it a little bit. You know, instead of a lizard, I'm going to do a tiny green frog and then a lizard. No, I'll do just, all right, I said a lizard. We'll do a tiny green frog in the next demo. Or no, let's do it all here right now. Little tinies. That's the thing about when you're using propane. People want to try to make it bigger, badder, meaner, better. But sometimes you don't have to make it bigger, badder, meaner, better. You just have to be in control of the glass that you got, whether it's big or small. And if your flame is small, and you want to be in control, make small things. There we go. We're going to flatten that head a little bit more. Oop, that did the trick right there. A little bit more than I was expecting, but it did the trick. There you go. And I'm going to put 4 legs on this sucker. Couple of toes. Forgot the eyes. Back legs. It's fun trying to keep just what you want to heat up in the flame and not everything else. But there's always an angle to get just what you wanted heated, not everything. Just got to find it. Couple of toes. Okay, I'm going to put a loop on the end of his nose so it can be a little charm or pendant or Christmas ornament or whatever. After this, I am going to go back to doing some Christmas ornaments. I got some ideas. I've got plenty of ornaments too. Oops. Now somebody's in the chat room and I didn't look. I am sorry. Let me look. See who it is, and I got to put my reading glasses on. Oh, you want to see the dragon close up? I'm sorry. Here you go. Wait a minute. I got to do 2 things at once here. There we go. Now I can see it live. And I'll have pictures of it on the main screen. I'm sorry about that. Now that I saw that, where'd that go? Oh, there it is. I'll put it back. But yeah, I'll have pictures of that in the on the main part of it when I do this later. Okay, I'm sorry about that. Well, a kiln with this stuff is not as important. Well, it wouldn't hurt. A kiln. Let me see. Smaller kiln, you're talking even a little jewelry box type kiln or something like that, is all you really need to, at this size especially, if you're only making tiny little trinkets and beads to work with. It all depends on your budget. When I started doing, and I still do, I call it a fringe of a shoestring budget because I try to do it as cheap as possible, but still get quality out of it. Let me finish this guy up. And I'm sorry I didn't look at your chat until I just looked up and said, oh, somebody's actually saying in here. Cool. The torch that keeps busting on you. I'm sorry about that. It is a matter of a good tiny torch to begin with. I got a hothead torch type thing, something you'd weld a solder water pipes with when we're talking in 1982 is when I started. So it was basically the same torch. Probably they make them better than this. This I like because it has it's self-starter, but I do not like the 3 single flames that come out of it. I like the one on the hothead that I had because it had such a range or more of a thing going on. Yeah, shoestring budget. Like I say, I've done it on a fringe of a shoestring budget where shoestring budget is extravagant. There you go. There's a little lizard. So far, I've done an elephant, a lizard, and a dragon. Now to do the frog. And what I did, uh, I melted this glass. This is still 7 Up. I mean Mountain Dew bottle, not 7 Up. I melted this with the big torch and pulled it out into strands. And as you can see, I'm just sort of easing it into the flame and making it work for me. These are, again, how I started, and what I made was basically twists, turns, pulls, stretches, and I tried to make tripod looking things and just playing with it, seeing what I could come up with. Yeah, mixed gas torch, oxygen, propane, even a smaller one. And my first one, I don't have it around. It's I about 3 or 4 months ago, I moved my shed to another location, and everything that I had to move everything out of the shed, and it's still on my property and everything like that. But I just moved it from like about 70 feet away from where it was anyway. And with that, I took everything out of the shed and put it in the house, or in a storage room in the house there, so that I could. And I've been too lazy and liked it cleaned out here, and the house is not as important. But anyway, okay. But yeah, I got an oxygen propane torch, and it was a big welding torch, my very first one. The second one was more of a Victor, and it was a smaller Victor. It was from top to bottom. I would have to say it was about, well, without the tip on it, it had to be about 6 to 8 inches long. But it was a nice raging torch, and I'd go through a tank of oxygen in about a month, and that was using the small stuff to do the job. Tweezers are a good thing to have when you're working even with the smaller stuff. I've been sitting here talking with you and not paying attention to what I'm doing. Here we go. Eyes on the frog. I'll put a loop on the end of his nose. That's probably a good idea right now. When you're working even with soft glass, the best thing to do is work from front to back and don't go back. Because if the second you try to go back and touch up something, that's where you screw up, and it tends to crack and break right at that spot 90% of the time, especially with smaller glass. It just is the nature of the beast. I'm going to remount this loop just a little bit. Okay. There's a little bit of defriculation going on the surface of this frog, but not this size, and with what I'm using, I guess you could say it's nature of the beast. Defriculation is basically a frosted wrinkle look going on the surface of the glass. One leg. Two legs. There we go. A couple of toes. Man, I'm surprised at some respects at how at this size, it's melting together and fusing together well. Again, the fun part is figuring out just the angle of getting what you want in the flame to work just that into the flame so that you can melt it and make it work. I've just recently started doing this different frog technique on the back legs, or back legs for the frog technique. I used to do my short L bend, but now I'm sort of doing a fold over and a pull back, and it makes a good leg. You know, poised like he's ready to bounce. Jump. Oops, should have done that the first time. It stressed out and broke off that leg. Like I say, when you're going back, it's where the problem can come in. Heat it up, pull it out, fold it over, pull it out, and I'm also going to heat up the front nub and pull it forward a little bit to give it more of a knee. There we go. That one still looks ugly. Let's try that again. Next. The other thing I like about glass is that if you don't like it, pull it off and try again. Or try it on the next one too. There we go. And now fold it over, pull it out, heat it up, stretch it out just a little bit. There we go. Now let's tap it off at the tail. Who do you recommend to purchase a torch from to work soft glass and boro glass? A good soft glass and boro glass first starter torch that I did with was called a National, and it was a made for glass blowing. The reason it was a National 3A or something like that, or it was a National. The tips are interchangeable. If you've got more money, I would suggest, well, if you just want to start out and learn and try, if you just want to do a little bit, a National torch would run you about 100 to 150, and a couple of tips, they run about $15 to $20 a piece. And I even got a macro, or a very, it comes like in a 1, a 2, a 3, a 4, and a 5. The size that I usually used was a 2 or 3, and 5 was when I was doing really big melting work. And then I also did, let me switch over to, since I'm not really doing any torch work at the moment. Let's see if that's where I need to go. Oh, let's try the other one. There we are. Hello. Got to tilt it up a little bit. Hey, there I am. Hey. But I had it was a 0-0 tip for a National, and I could get down to really, really tiny stuff like this that I'm doing right here, right now, with that National, and it was a pretty cool deal. I also like doing, I could get really. That's one of the things that I did was, again, working off a fringe of a shoestring budget. I would make smaller things, and with smaller things, believe it or not, people are willing to pay more money for something smaller than they are for something bigger sometimes. And yes, there are people that want the bigger things. Don't get me wrong there. But I liked working it that I was getting more, and I could do something in a shorter amount of time. I got to the point where I could make like an inch piece in about 2 to 3.5 to 4 minutes a piece, and sell it for $5 to $6 a piece on my table, and boom, that's money. And that's money. If you did that all day long, you're still looking at about $60 to $70 an hour. That's just small stuff. And when I did the really macro tiny things, one of the things I I did to show off those things, and I don't have them at the moment. But you can get those gym cases with those little foam, like you would show off a little diamond or a little emerald or whatever. They're little plastic cases with little foam on it that you could show off the little uh, diamond and stuff with it. And at first, I just made the little tiny ones and said, "Here, let me show you something." They go, "Oh, look at that! Where'd it go?" It'd fall out of their hands. But with that gym case, it was like, "Oh, wow, that's cool." And they're willing to pay like 10, $15 a piece for them, depending upon who you're talking to and what you're dealing with. And if it's got some nice detail, it's a good deal. You want to make pendants and beads and dread beads. Yeah. Um, National Torch is a good torch. I'll have to admit that. Yeah. I love doing small. I really did. And I still do. I mean, the range, most people, again, want to do, but I don't mind doing small. Uh, and it also, if you make a mistake on something small, you're not wasting that much material. You're only wasting that much material. Um, and I often talk about it that if you want to learn an object first, you make it small using less material and you get more. And then once you get it down pat, you can start expanding it and making it bigger. Um, that way you already understand where everything has to go. And people, when I do the small things, they say, "How do you do it so small?" And I say, it's the same thing as when you're writing the words on a page. You think to yourself, you're going to make the next word smaller, so you make the same basic stroke, but just put it in a smaller space. And that's the best way I can explain it. And it does work for me. Anyway, but yeah, propane torch is where I started, and I enjoyed it immensely. Um, with that, uh, if you don't have any more questions, do you need a fatter flame to melt thicker soft glass? Um, More of a bushy flame. Especially you want something that's gonna, because you want it to just melt the glass. I couldn't tell you, and it's something you'd have to experiment with each piece and with each soft glass because it. Um, Look back in some of my things. I talk about COE with one of my videos. Uh, I could probably put it in the just below when I get it all done and said. But it's testing COEs where you don't know two types of glass whether they'll be compatible or not. You would put one on top and one on the bottom, and you heat it up and stretch, and then they become one strand. And if they curl, they're not compatible. But if they stay straight, they are compatible. That's because the reason that they curl is that one's cooling faster than the other, and just it just bends. It just becomes like that. Any other questions? I see fatter flame or to melt thicker soft glass. Again, it's all in the you might want a bush tip, and they do have those. It's like 3 or 4 holes in the same tip. Um, and the National again has such a variety of tips that you can get for it. A bush flame. Um, it's just a matter of experimenting and playing with it. And again, when I first started, that's what I used, and I enjoyed it. And it got me a good variety of, I guess you could say, a good variety of sizes. And most of the stuff I had on the table was anywhere from an inch to 2.5 to 3 inches tall. I didn't do big things, you know, just my type of deal. And no problem, Turpy Tokes. I appreciate you being in the chat room, and I'm surprised that I didn't think of it before. I will do a group picture of all of these little things, and they will be on the main screen or the main picture when I show it on the, I guess you could say, on the page. Matter of fact, I will do that right now. And again, I'll edit the picture that's on there. Thanks a lot. And yeah, I was going to call it quits at this point, and I might come up with another one or go Facebook Live. It's still early in the morning, but I might just do a Facebook Live one too under Lucian Libby. So just try it in different places. See who salutes it. Um, so until next time. Yes, I do have Instagram. It's Lucian Libby under Instagram. You can start following me there if you'd like. Just try it out. And again, I appreciate having. Okay, before I go, would you like to see something in particular made? And I can do this with the big torch. Matter of fact, I will do it with the big torch. But name out something you'd like to see again, Terpy, and I'll make it real quick, about 3 to 5 minutes, and I'll have it done. And we can do it on this show. How's that sound? Huh? How's that? Or do you have to go? There we go. Torch is up. Got to turn on the tanks here. Dreamcatcher. Well, not a Dreamcatcher per se. Never really got into those. But I guess. Let's see. Um, you know, never really got into a Dreamcatcher. But I will show you a lace very similar to that you can start trying to do learning a Dreamcatcher with. How's that sound? That'll get you in the right direction in the meantime. Oh, we got the flame going. Oh, went out. Too much pressure, I guess. There we go. Now, with a Dreamcatcher, you just start with a real thin strand, and you can pull out thin stringers. Okay? Guess I need to have a picture of a Dreamcatcher up here. But thin stringers. And you can make a web design out of this too, like for a spider web or stuff like that. That's okay. I'm gonna make about a couple of feet of this, at least. Okay, there's one. Tap it off. Let's get a little bit more flame going on. Again, as you can see with the bushy flame, you're melting thicker and bigger pieces of glass. And then you could get down to a thinner flame and or on the side of the flame to melt a thinner piece of, or just a little piece of glass at one time, if that's all you got is a bushy flame. It's all in the adjustment of the torch flame that you can melt a lot, a little, or everything all at once. And it's in the control of what you got in the flame. And control is very important when you got flame. Okay, this should be enough to get you in the right direction. There we go. Now, most of these rods that I just did out are cool enough that I can pick it up. They cool that fast because they're that thin. Okay. There's that first one that I did. And here's the second one. Now, I'm going to change around the flame attitude a little bit. Now, again, when you're doing little tiny things, you might want to have a nice single flame tip to get some results with. Now, also, support. You can start out in the center just like I did before and drop another one, melt it off, and support. That way you're not, you can go back in and it won't flump around. You can go back into that same spot without too much problems. Support is very important. You see how I did a cold welds here, and I could tap those or pull those off later on. Support. That one's a little bit better weld, but you can melt it off at that spot anyway. There you go, see? And then what you would do is then heat and touch strands all the way around. See what I mean? And with the support, you can heat up and make sure each one of those, the support that you have going on without it slumping again in that spot. The single flame, again, you can go back in and make sure each one of these welds so that it's not going to break apart at that spot later. See, it sort of just slumped together. It draws into itself a little bit, but it still gives you individual welds to do the job. And then you can come back later if the lines aren't as straight and as what you like, come back in with a pair of tweezers, or yeah, tweezers work. Let me show you. I'll even, yeah, right here, I'll even make a dent going in another direction to show you that you can manipulate these things. See, right there in the middle, boom, just to show you. Yeah, you'd run off and make more of the circle. I just, again, was just showing you what is, you know, to make that type of stuff work. Anyway, with that, you know, you could put that in a corner somewhere. Put a spider hanging off of it. Okay. I just lost it. Didn't I? No, I didn't. Maybe I did. Who knows? It got a little choppy, but we'll deal with it. Thank you very much. And as always, Kirby Tokes, hope to see you on Facebook and also on 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 Instagram. So till next time, as always, where'd my, oh, there's my mouse. Gotta have that to click off everything. As always, enjoy your day. Thank you very much for being there. Bye for now.